Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi Yahya.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, we finished the marfu'at section, and also in the previous lesson, you did a full reading, very good reading of the marfu'at. For anyone that wants to revise the marfu'at, they should definitely revisit that session, the previous session, and also if they're stuck on any parts, then the individual lessons that were conducted before that. Now we're going to start what we call the second maqsad, the second main chapter of the book. The author mentioned there's three maqasid, three main chapters in the book. Al-maqsid al-awwal was marfu'at. Al-maqsid al-thani is the mansubat. So now we're going to start the mansubat. Al-maqsid al-thani fil mansubat. Maqsid al-thani is the mansubat. How many mansubat are there? There are 12 in total. It's in the footnotes in the table below as well. 8 plus on the next page, 4 more. So there's 12 mansubat. We'll go through each one in detail. First, let's just go through the text. Al-asma'ul mansubatu ithna ashara qisman. Ismul mansub are 12 types. Number 1, al-maf'ulul mutlaqu. Al-maf'ulul mutlaqu. Maf'ul mutlaq. Number 2, wabihi. Wabihi means al-maf'ul bihi. Al-maf'ul bihi. So the author just said it in a very abridged manner. وفيه. وفيه means المفعول فيه. المفعول فيه. وله. Yahya, what do you think وله means?
The because why it happened.
Yeah, so the مفعول له. So it means the مفعول له. And what about معه?
مفعول معه.
المفعول معه. So the author just said it in a very abridged manner, but in the table underneath he mentions it completely anyway. So al-maf'ul al-mutlaq wal-maf'ul bihi wal-maf'ul fihi wal-maf'ul lahu wal-maf'ul ma'ahu. We call them the al-mafa'il al-khamsa. So the five maf'uls, we call them al-mafa'il al-khamsa, the five maf'uls. So al-mafa'il al-khamsa, the five maf'uls. Okay, then number 6, wal halu. So hal, state. Number 7, what tamyizu, specification or clarification. Number 8, wal mustathna, mustathna. Number 9, khabru kana wa akhawatuha. Number 10, ismu ka'in, ismu inna wa akhawatuha. Do you know it should be khabru kana wa akhawatiha. So Kana's khabar and the sisters, or khabru akhawati kana. So it should be akhawatiha. So khabaru akhawati kana. Same with ismu inna wa akhawatiha. Wal mansubu bila allati li nafi al-jinsi. And also the mansub, the noun which is given halatun nasab because of a la li nafi al-jins. La rajula. وخبر ما ولا المشبهتين بليس, and the khabar of ma and la which is similar to laysa. Any questions?
No.
Okay, moving on. So now let's go through the first type of the mansubat, and the first type of mansubat is maf'ul mutlaq. Maf'ul mutlaq. What is maf'ul mutlaq? In simple words, before we go through the text, maf'ul mutlaq, what you can say is the root noun. The root noun. So it's the root noun which will be repeated after a verb. So it'll be a root noun which will be repeated after a root word. So it'll be a root noun repeated before a verb. By the way, sometimes the verb might be mentioned in words. Sometimes the verb might not actually be mentioned in words. You just work it out. So it's repeated after a verb which is mentioned in words, or a verb which may not be mentioned in words. And another thing about repeated, I'm not sure if that's the right word, because it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact wording repeated. It just has to be the same meaning repeated. I'll explain. Qa'ada Yahya. Qa'ada Yahya. Yahya sat. Julusan. Julusan. Now that julusan is maf'ul mutlaq. Yahya sat sitting. Yahya sat sitting. So it's just emphasizing that, yes, he really did sit. Now, do you know jalasa? What does jalasa mean? Or julus, what does that mean?
To sit.
Sit. What does qa'ada mean?
To also sit.
Also sit. So it doesn't have to be, the maf'ul mutlaq doesn't have to be the same word as the verb before a qa'ada. It just has to be the same meaning. So when I said repeated, I meant repeated in terms of meaning. So repeated in terms of meaning, not necessarily the wording. It can repeat in wording as well. So for example, qa'ada yahya qu'udan, qu'udan would also be the maf'ul mutlaq there. So that's what maf'ul mutlaq is. Why does maf'ul mutlaq come? So it's coming in a text ahead. So faslun. المفعول المطلق مفعول مطلق وهو مصدر بمعنى فعل مذكور قبله. So وهو مصدر بمعنى فعل مذكور قبله. So مفعول مطلق is a masdar. مفعول مطلق is a masdar. So the first condition of مفعول مطلق is it will always be a root noun. Number two, بمعنى فعل مذكور قبله. All this is one thing. And it will be in the meaning of the verb. Meaning of the verb. So the verb's meaning. بمعنى فعل. Verb's meaning. Which verb? المذكور قبله, the verb that was mentioned before it. So it'll be in the meaning of the verb that's mentioned before it. It'll be in the meaning of the verb that's mentioned before it. Then, what are the purposes of the maf'ul mutlaq? وَيُذْكَرُ لِلتَّأْكِيدِ. Purpose number one, ta'keed. So, and maf'ul mutlaq are mentioned. Maf'ul mutlaq are mentioned. لِلتَّأْكِيدِ, for emphasis purposes. For example, ضَرَبْتُ ضَرْبًا. Now, in this example, the word ضَرْبًا, I hit, hitting. So, for example, you say ضَرَبْتُ Muʿāwiyah, I hit Muawiyah. ضَرْبًا, hitting. So that word hitting there is just for emphasis. It's got no other purpose. It's a maf'ul mutlaq. It's come just for emphasis. Moving on. So وَيُذْكَرُ لِلتَّأْكِيد أو وَيُذْكَرُ أو لِبَيَانِ النَّوْعِ. لِبَيَانِ النَّوْعِ. Sometimes it could be mentioned لِبَيَانِ النَّوْعِ, to mention the situation, to mention the state. For example, the example will make this clear, to mention the state. So for example, جَلَسْتُ جِلْسَةَ الْقَارِ. I sat جِلْسَةً, that's the maf'ul mutlaq. I sat in the state of sitting like a qari. So and or loose translation, which we would say, I sat like the sitting of a qari, like the sitting of a student, like the sitting of a reciter. Anyway, so jilsatan is basically the maf'ul mutlaq here, and it's basically a masdar. Jilsatan is also a masdar. Jalasa yajlusu julusan wa jilsatan. So jilsatan is a masdar and is basically explaining the state of the verb before, how you sat. So that's what that is. لِبَيَانِ النَّوْعِ, almost you can say that's basically the how. أو لِبَيَانِ الْعَدَدِ, or maf'ul mutlaq comes to mention the quantity, the amount of times. So the amount of times. So jalastu jalsatan, that's a maf'ul mutlaq. Or imagine you said jalastu jalsatain. So imagine I said jalastu jalsatain. So jalastu jalsatan is basically I sat once. Jalastu jalsatain means I sat twice. Jalastu jalsat means I sat many times. So that word is indicating to how many times as well. So that's another reason, or maf'ul mutlaq can come. Any questions before we move on?
No.
Okay, now certain rules. Ahkamul maf'ul al-mutlaq. Certain rules regarding maf'ul mutlaq. So rules regarding maf'ul mutlaq. وَقَدْ يَكُونُ مِنْ غَيْرِ لَفْظِ الْفِعْلِ الْمَذْكُورِ. So I've already indicated to this. Rule number one, sometimes the maf'ul mutlaq can be from other than the verb, other than the word of the verb. Does it have to be the exact word?
No.
No. So it can be min ghayri lafdh al-fi'l al-madhkur. So whatever verb that was mentioned, for example, qa'ada, the maf'ul mutlaq qad yakunu min ghayri lafdh. It can be from another word, as long as it's same
meaning.
So look, it's a different word, julusan, but it's the same meaning as qa'ada. So qa'adtu julusan. So again, julusan can be maf'ul mutlaq there. Or ambata nabatan. Ambata nabatan. This is a tricky one. Ambata nabatan. Ambata yumitu imbat means growing. Nabata yambutu nabtan wa nabatan also means growing. Now the author is giving an example of when the maf'ul mutlaq is a different word. Is nabatan a different word to ambata?
It looks like it comes from the same word, but
Okay. This is why I said a trick question. Ambata, what scale, surf scale is that from? Or what bab of scale, what bab is it from?
if'al.
If'al. If'al. And nabatan, what scale is that from? Nabata yambutu nabatan.
Um, uh, maf
Nabata yambutu nabatan.
nabata yambutu. Oh, it's from
You're thinking too deep. You need to come down to basics. Nabata yambutu nabatan.
nabata yambutu nabatan. It's from the bab nabata yambutu. Is it from bab fa'ala yaf
Okay,
fataha.
what say dharaba bab to me? Dharaba?
ضرب ضربوا
No, no, no,
ضربا.
no. Dharaba yadribu. Yeah?
ضرب يضرب ضربا فهو
Done, done,
ضارب.
done, done. Sami'a,
سمع يسمع سمعا.
fataha,
فتح يفتح فتحا.
nasara,
ينصر نصرا.
nabata.
ينبت نباتا.
Forget the masdar. We don't look at the masdar. Nabata yambutu. So what bab is
نصر
it?
ينصر نصر ينصر.
Nasara yansuru. So anyway, coming back. So ambata was babi if'al. Nabata yambutu was babi nasara. If it's a different bab, it's regarded as a different word. So although the key letters were the same, the key letters of both words are noon, ba, and ta. So they look similar words, but because they're from different babs, if'al and nasara, they're regarded as two different types of word, two different words. Is that clear?
Yep.
Okay, moving on. Anyway, the point of that was you can have maf'ul mutlaq with a different word from the verb before, although the meaning will be the same. Okay, next. وَقَدْ يُهْذَفُ. That was rule number 1 for maf'ul mutlaq. Rule number 2 for maf'ul mutlaq. وَقَدْ يُهْذَفُ فَعْلُهُ لِقِيَامِ قَرِينَةٍ. وَقَدْ يُهْذَفُ فَعْلُهُ لِقِيَامِ قَرِينَةٍ. Sometimes the verb of the maf'ul mutlaq can be dropped. Sometimes the verb of the maf'ul mutlaq can be dropped. لِقِيَامِ قَرِينَةٍ, because of a sign. So there'll be a sign, there'll be a context to it. You'll work it out from the context that, you know, in this case, there's no need bringing the verb before it. Everyone will understand it anyway. Now, do you know this dropping of the verb? So it says you can do hadful fi'l in maf'ul mutlaq. So in maf'ul mutlaq, you can do hadful fi'l. Yep. Is that correct?
Yep.
This hadful fi'l can be jawazan. So it's permissible to drop it. You've got both options. You can bring it if you want. You don't need to bring it if you don't want. Or it could be wujuban. Wujuban. Wujuban means you have to drop it. So there's certain times where you have to drop the verb. You have to. You've got no option. So anyway, jawazan wa wujuban. So it's permissible to drop it. كَقَوْلِكَ لِلْقَادِمِ كَقَوْلِكَ لِلْقَادِمِ. For example, you say to someone who comes. So imagine someone comes to your house or someone comes and meets you. So you say to them, خَيْرَ مَقْدَمٍ خَيْرَ مَقْدَمٍ. خَيْرَ مَقْدَمٍ is basically a loose translation. Qadama maqdam means coming, like to come. Khayra means good, so good coming. Literal translation is good coming. I would just loosely say welcome. Anyway, now khayra maqdamin, this full thing is the maf'ul mutlaq. Maf'ul mutlaq. So all this is maf'ul mutlaq. Now what's the verb? So the verb qadimtu or qadimtu quduman. Actually, it's not even, that's not the maf'ul mutlaq. It should be qadimtu quduman khayra maqdamin. So I came the coming of a good welcome. I came the coming of a good welcome. So the actual maf'ul mutlaq is quduman khayra maqdamin. Mawsuf sifa together. Quduman khayra maqdamin. And so underneath is in the table underneath. If you look at the table underneath, qadimtu fa'il fa'il, quduman mawsuf, khayra maqdamin mudaf mudaf ilayh is the sifa. The mawsuf sifa together, the full thing is the maf'ul mutlaq. So you can even say what happened here was not only the fa'il and the fa'il was dropped, part of the maf'ul mutlaq was also dropped. Because there was an easy sign that you can work out. Arabs, as soon as you say khayra maqdamin, they can work out what's before it. Is that okay?
Yep.
Sometimes dropping the verb before the maf'ul mutlaq is wajib. And when is it wajib? There's no rules. Sama'an. So there's no rules. It doesn't follow any rule. It's just passed on from Arabs. Sama'an means we've just heard it. We've just heard it generation upon generation. So we just have to stick to it. Because remember, language came first, rules came second. So when language came first, in these cases, the verbs were always dropped. So we just have to stick to that. We've got no flexibility. For example, saqiyan or shukran or hamdan or ra'yan. I, the full sentence was saqaqallahu saqiyan or shakartuka shukran or hamidtuka hamdan or ra'akallahu ra'yan. So translation, saqaqallahu saqiyan, may Allah quench your thirst, quenching. Shakartuka shukra, I thank you, thanking. Hamidtuka hamda, I praise you, praising. Ra'akallahu ra'ya, may Allah take care of you, take care. But anyway, the Arabs would never say hamidtuka hamdan. Arabs would just say hamdan. Or the more famous one, shukran. Have you heard Arabs say shukran?
Ji.
So they don't say shakartu shukran. That's too long-winded. They just say shukran. Now a Nahw student will be like, oh, shukran. Why is it mansub for? It should be mubtada, so it should be shukrun. Why is it shukran? Because it's maf'ul mutlaq of a hidden fa'il before it. So shakartuka shukran. Fa'il maf'ul bihi, shakartuka. And then shukran is a maf'ul mutlaq.
Yeah.
Is that clear?
Ji.
Okay. Now, alhamdulillah, we finished the maf'ul mutlaq chapter. The next part is faslun al-maf'ulu bihi, which is the second type of mansubat. Inshallah, we'll do that in the next session. So in this session, we finished the introduction of mansubat and also maf'ul mutlaq. Any questions, Yahya, you have about the introduction or also about the maf'ul mutlaq?
No questions.
Okay, so if you could do the reading and translating.
جي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الأسماء المنصوبة 12 قسما. The mansub is the mansub nouns are of 11 types. Of 12 types. المفعول المطلق. The مفعول مطلق وبه ومفعول به وفيه ومفعول فيه وله مفعول له ومعه مفعول معه والحال and the state والتمييز and the clarification والمستثنى and the مستثنى وخبر كان وأخواتها خبر كان and its sisters واسم إن وأخواتها the اسم إن and its sisters والمنصوب بلا التي لنا في الجنس and the mansub of la, which negates a whole genus, وخبر ما ولا مشبهتين بليس, and the khabar of ma and la, which have similar meanings to laysa. فصل المفعول المطلق. The مفعول مطلق وهو مصدر بمعنى فعل مذكور قبله. It is a root noun with a meaning of the verb mentioned before it. ويذكر and is mentioned للتأكيد for emphasis. كضربت ضربا, like in the example ضربت ضربا. So ضربا would be the مفعول مطلق. I hit, hitting. أو لبيان النوع, or for the mentioning of the state. نحو for example جلست جلسة القاضي. I sat the sitting. I sat a sitting of a qadi, of the qadi. So it is showing how he sat. أو لبيان العدد, or for the meaning of quantity. كجلست جلسة أو جلستين أو جلسات. So I sat once or twice or thrice. وقد يكون من غير لفظ الفعل المذكور, and sometimes it will be from other than the mentioned,
other than the verb that's mentioned. So it can be from a word, it can be from a word other than from the verb that's mentioned. So it doesn't have to be the same, you know, the word mentioned in the verb, it doesn't have to be the same word. It can be a different word but same meaning.
So other than the word mentioned. نحو قدعت جلوسا.
No, it can be other than the word of the verb mentioned.
Other than
it's a bit confusing, but I'm trying to get all the words translated. Yeah.
Other than the word that was mentioned. نحو قدعت جلوسا. قعدت جلوسا. Since in this example جلوسا, the both قدعت and جلوسا both mean to sit. But جلوسا is used. It doesn't have to be the same word. وأنبت نباتا. I said this case أنبت is نباتا, both give the same meaning. أنبت is from باب إفعال and نباتا is from باب نصر ينصر. وقد يحذف فعله لقيام قرينة and sometimes the verb will be dropped due to a sign. جواز كقولك لقادم.
جوازا
كقولك للقادم. It be permissible like the speech of the qadim خير مقدم. That would be just that أي قدمت قدوما خير مقدم, which is part of a bigger sentence قدمت قدوما خير مقدم. So the قدمت قدوما have both been dropped, and خير مقدم can just be used. ووجوبا سماعا, and is necessary. سماعا, and at times is necessary and is known by hearing. نحو سقيا وشكرا وحمدا ورعيا, أي سقاك الله سقيا. May Allah quench your thirst. So you can just say سقيا. You don't have to say the full sentence. It's necessary to drop the سقاك الله. وشكرتك شكرا, I thank you thanking. وحمدتك حمدا, I praise you praising. ورعاك الله رأيا, and may Allah take care of you. Take care.
Very good, mashallah. May Allah increase your knowledge. May Allah put barakah in your knowledge. Very good. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.